Hi, everybody. Today we're talking smartphones, and at the end of this month, the ZTE Axon 30 Ultra begins having pre orders available. I'm Beth Motter here with Matt Miller. Matt, I've kind of scrolled through, I've kind of looked through this phone. The cameras look impressive, it looks compact, it looks powerful. You've had the device in hand for about a week now. Tell us your first impressions.
Yeah, so it's nice to see. We've seen some ZTE phones in the past, and people may have seen them at the carriers and things, but it's been a while since we've seen one actually coming to the U.S. And the last one I looked at had an under display camera, which was a unique feature. This one does not have that, but it's an extremely powerful smartphone, right? And you mentioned the pre-orders and the orders coming soon. $749 or $849 for the one with more memory, but it's pretty stunning in the fact that it has the highest end Snapdragon 888 processor. It has the fastest RAM, the fastest internal storage, has a 4600 milliampere battery inside, and then a big 6.77-inch AMOLED. Now, that's all flagship type specifications at a price that's a couple $100 less than some of the other flagships. And you'd mentioned the cameras. Before I get to that real quick, the screen, right? It's a big screen, but it also has a 60 to 144 hertz refresh rate adjustable. So you can turn it on auto mode, or you can go through a bunch of different settings. So for gaming, you can have a super high refresh rate, or for other activities, you can toggle that back and forth. So the cameras you mentioned, I don't know if you can see them on there, but there's a lot of cameras on the back. There's four cameras on the rear, and three of those are 64 megapixel cameras. There's one that is the main camera with optical image stabilization. There's another one on there that is, they say it's portrait. It doesn't mean portrait mode. It just means capturing a lot of data for people kind of scenes and things. And then there's the ultra wide, which almost everybody has nowadays with 120-degree field of view. And the last one is something that you see. It's a square camera. Now we've seen this before on Samsungs and a couple other phones. That's the periscope camera, where the camera is actually angled inside the camera, then uses mirrors and comes out, because they can achieve a high level of telephoto. And this is an 8 megapixel camera with 5 by optical telephoto capability. And so that's the camera hardware and hardware, but the real power of this one is really in the camera software. And there's all kinds of modes. I mean, I spent a week with it, and I still I've only touched on some of these camera modes. There's a multi-camera mode that can use two or three cameras at the same time to capture different perspectives and help you be really creative. And the fun mode that's on here is for vlogging and movies. And there's a bunch of preset options. So I don't know if you're familiar with like the Hitchcock effect, where an image will stay still and then the rest of the scene around it kind of backs up, or you zoom into a subject in the middle. So there's all these weird perspective and creative modes for video on here, which I think a lot of people have a lot of fun with and be pretty creative with. There's also a moon mode, and we've seen this before on some Huawei and Samsung phones, where you flip it on moon mode and it will do like a super zoom on it, and then it will kind of do some algorithms and things to try to help you capture the moon as well. So it's got a lot of camera features in it, and like I said, I put up a first look review. It's going to take a while to dive through all the camera features to get a full review up.
Yeah, it sounds impressive. As someone who doesn't probably use my camera now on my phone to its full capability, who is this phone? Who are these cameras kind of designed for? Like, maybe who's the best user for this kind of thing?
Yeah, I think a phone like this is really for content creators. We see a lot of content creators use gimbals, and some of the gimbals will have different software, and a lot of the software that's kind of covered in this phone. This is really for people who want to not necessarily dive into the manual mode that real serious photographers get into, but do some creation with some very simple modes. And like I mentioned, those modes are kind of templates in the movie mode. So you don't have to get crazy and learn all the movie features. You can flip it into movie mode, and the template in there will help you create those kind of different movies. So it's for those who want to be creative, but maybe don't have all of the camera skills of a manual mode.
Okay, and I think a lot of our viewers and readers would be really interested. How does this stack up to the Galaxy S21?
Yeah, the S21 is probably the main competitor to this phone because the S21 is $799 and this one's $749. So you got a $50 difference. So the difference is really the key are Samsung has water resistance in their phones. This one does not have any water resistance. The ZTE phone actually has higher resolution cameras and more optical zoom than the Galaxy S21. The battery in this phone is 4600, which is actually 600 more milliamperes than the Samsung one. And then wireless charging is provided on Samsung, but not in the CTE phone. And then there's a slight difference in the refresh rate. Samsung has 120 hertz. This one has 144 hertz. So you're still getting a high refresh rate on the Samsung, but this one's a bit better for the gaming aspect. And one other thing I'll mention too, I don't know if you can see at the bottom, this does have the 5G logo on there, and this is the Axon 30 Ultra 5G. And those in the US may be saying, okay, so if I buy this, can I pop any SIM card and get 5G? Now, there's limits there for the US. It will work on AT&T and T-Mobile. It's a GSM unlocked phone, but for 5G, it only works on band N41, which is the mid-band spectrum that T-Mobile now has because they purchased Sprint. So I did test it, and I was in an area where they had that mid-band 5G. I was seeing about 100 megabits per second downloads, which is faster than the LTE. So just know that it's not going to be as broad and as when you see like an Apple with a 5G that covers all the bands, low, mid, and high. This one is just a mid-band supported 5G phone. So make sure to include that.
Yeah, really good point about the 5G. It can be a little deceiving if you see commercials or if you just read little tidbits about 5G in the US. So good to keep in mind. Matt, any closing thoughts here about this device?
Yeah, this is a beautiful device. You can kind of see it. It has a matte finished glass on the back, which I love because it prevents fingerprints and other weird
Absolutely.
things. It's also kind of scratch resistant, but it's a pretty thin phone too at 8 millimeters. It's really a lovely piece of hardware, nice camera array. If you're a content creator, it's something you can consider for hundreds less than the flagships with all the power that you could expect.
Absolutely, really good point. It's that price point, 749, is what it starts at. That's considerably less than those flagship phones, as you mentioned. May 27th, pre-orders start for the ZTE Axon 30 Ultra. Matt, thank you so much for showing it to us. Like you said, a beautiful piece of hardware. And those cameras, that looks really interesting. That might be something that I try to get my hands on and see how everything works. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we've made it easy. We've got some pre-order links right below this video for you if you're interested in checking the device out. As always, for all things smartphone and tech, be sure to stick with ZDNet.